Thank you.
Thank you, Rajni ma'am. Good evening, all. Myself, Anant Bansode, and today we will be discussing the topic of soil health management. As we all know, before Green Revolution, that is before 1960s, the agriculture in India was mostly organic or was done in the natural way. Once we introduced high yielding varieties and some chemical fertilizers in 60s, we started using chemical means of plant nutrition and plant protection, and gradually the dependence on the organic inputs was getting it was decreased gradually, and now since last 5 10 years we can see some issues in with respect to soil health, with respect to the crop health, and with respect to the yield and productivity of the soil. Today we'll discuss about the issues and causes and the probable solutions to improve or to maintain the soil health in we can say in our Indian conditions. Now, what we see as a problem is number one, we experienced a reduction in the yield and quality of the produce. Then we experience malnutrition in terms of malnutrition of the soil, malnutrition of the plants or crops grown on that soil, and the malnutrition of the animals, that is animals and human beings depending on those crops. And thirdly, we can see the issue of environmental pollution, be it soil pollution, be it water pollution, or be it environmental pollution. So we can see these problems, and the reasons beyond these problems are, first, we have ignored the reduced productivity of the soil. Day by day the productivity was decreasing, so instead of finding the means and ways to improve or maintain the productivity, we started increasing the quantity of chemical fertilizers, thereby reducing the exact cause of reduction in the productivity of soil. Second thing, as we discussed, we have lost that balance between chemical and non-chemical, that is organic fertilizers. There are other reasons why the organic fertilizers use is reduced, like the number of animals, the reduction in the number of animals in those years. And thirdly, the profit which we get or which we plan to get from the farming, is it uh, is it to be expected from increased yield or a reduced cost, or we need to find some balance between increasing the yield and a reduction in the cost. So we'll discuss these things one by one in our presentation or in our discussion. Now, the picture in front of you is a basic plant growth mechanism. So you can see with the help of carbon dioxide and sunlight and the water absorbed along with nutrients from the soil, the plant produce the nutrient, or plant cooks the food inside the leaves with the help of all these things. And that food, or that we can say material cooked or prepared inside the leaf, is in the form of various types of sugars. So these sugars are then translocated from one part to another for the growth of those plants, say for the growth of roots, for the growth of flowers, for the growth of branches. So in chemical terms, you can see the chemical formula. The carbon dioxide plus water is converted into sugar, the oxygen is released, and water is released in the atmosphere. This is the basic mechanism of each and every plant on this earth. So this mechanism is important to understand the how plant functions. So based on that, we can see the issues in functioning of the plant. Now, whenever we talk about the required essential nutrients for the plant, the answer comes in the form of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and onwards. So here I want to emphasis on one important aspect, that is almost 90% of the requirement, total requirement of nutrients is from three elements, that is carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. And we are lucky enough till date that all these three elements are made available free of cost. That is plant takes these nutrients from water and air, carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Remaining 16, 17 nutrients are then subdivided into macronutrients, that is major nutrients, secondary nutrients, and the micronutrients. The major nutrients are obviously nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash, wherein nitrogen is required for the plant's vegetative growth. The phosphorus is required for the growth of roots and flowers, and the potassium is associated with the yield and quality of the produce. Then the secondary nutrients or secondary, we can say macronutrients, are calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. Sulfur, calcium, and magnesiums are required in the lesser quantity than the major nutrients, since they are called as secondary nutrients. Their role in plant system is very much defined. Sulfur is responsible for various metabolic activities, and it is also responsible for oil content in oil seeds, the pungency in onion, something like that. The magnesium is responsible for the chlorophyll production inside the leaves, and calcium gives the structural support to the plant. And then comes the micronutrients. The name itself suggests that these are micronutrients, that is they are required in very minute form. So there are seven, 6, 7 elements: boron, chlorine, copper, iron, manganese, molybdenum, and zinc. These are micronutrients. All these nutrients are having specific role in growth of the plant, and we'll see while our discussion that how these nutrients are essential. Now you can see a picture of a plant cell in front of you. uh, crores of these plant cells come together and forms the structure of the plant. Now if we take an example of, let us say, a cell wall of the plant, on of this cell, there you can see the nutrient name there: nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, and boron. That means to have a good functioning of a cell wall of a plant cell, there is a requirement of nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, and boron. So with this we can understand that if crores of cells like this come together, if one cell requires all these nutrients for a better functioning of that cell, that means the plant which is formed using these cells also requires all these nutrients for the better functioning. The quantity of the nutrient may differ, but the requirement of the nutrients is essential. That is, if nitrogen is required, you have to provide with the nitrogen support. Then when it comes to the soil or soil health, the major thing while we check the health of the soil is the pH of the soil. Okay, so let us try to understand what exactly the pH is. Now the pH is measured in the range of 0 to 14, and the center or neutral pH is 7. That means anything, any pH below 7 is called as acidic pH, and any pH above 7 is called as alkaline or basic pH. So why this alkaline or acidic pH, why this pH range is defined, and why this pH is important, you can see from the slide. On the slide you can see the strips with the names of nutrients on them. The strips has a varied thickness at various places. Okay, the more the thickness, more is the availability of nutrient in the soil. Lesser the thickness of the strip, lesser is the availability of that particular nutrient in the soil. If you can see the range of 6.5 to 7.5 pH, you can see the availability of all the essential nutrients in balanced form, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, or macro or micronutrients are available in balanced form, or availability is good. If you check the pH of 8.5, you can see that the availability of nitrogen is decreasing, the availability of phosphorus is very, very less, and the availability of boron or copper or zinc or iron is very, very less. So similarly, if you can see the pH of 5, there is a reduction in availability of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, calcium, etc. So that means if the pH of the soil or pH of the soil solution, or for that matter pH of the water, is between 6.5 to 7.5, we can say that the nutrient availability will be in balanced form, that is the availability will be good. Anything, any deviation in this pH value will reduce or increase the availability of some nutrients or others. Then we'll come to the fertility of soil. So what exactly is the fertility of the soil? The soil fertility is the balance of all the things you can see on the slide. If all the things are in balance, we can say that your soil is fertile. So what are these things? First is the soil structure. What soil structure is a physical property of soil, wherein the percentage of sand, silt, and clay, or the proportion of sand, silt, and clay with each other, defines the soil structure. If the soil is more sandy, then you will not have any water holding capacity is there. If soil is more, we can say, clay, the drainage issue will be there. So the soil structure is one of the factors in soil, in soil fertility. Second is active soil life. Active soil life comprise of two different types of life. One that is visible to the eyes, that is earthworms and all, and one that is invisible to eyes, that is microorganism. So what is the how much these organisms are active in the soil, the beneficial organisms that helps in the soil fertility development or maintaining the soil fertility. Second, the content of organic matter. Now we can say that organic matter or organic carbon is soul of the soil. So if the organic matter or organic content is more in the soil, you will see the better growth of the plants. Why it is there? Because the organic matter forms a food material for the growth of the active soil life in the soil, and in response to that food material, these microorganisms or organisms make the nutrients available to the growing plant. Then the minerals, that is the nutrient content of the basic soil, is also a part of soil fertility development. Then the pH, as we discussed in the earlier slide, it is also one of the factors, important factors in the fertility of the soil. Then the next thing is retention of water. Once we irrigate the soil, or once the soil is saturated with the help of, we can say, rainwater, how much water is retained in the soil, that also defines the fertility of the soil. Second thing, the drainage. Once the soil is full with the water, there is a requirement of sufficient drainage of the soil to make the roots supply get more air along with the water. If the roots are submerged in the water, they will not able to absorb the nutrients in the absence of air. So there is a need of sufficient drainage of the water. Then the release of nutrient. Merely the availability of nutrient is not sufficient in the soil. The nutrient releasing, because the nutrients in the soils are in two different form. One is non-available form and second is available form. The microorganisms and soil pH converts the non-available nutrients into available form gradually. Say we can say that is a continuous process. So the speed of availability or release of these nutrients from the soil is also one of the important factors in fertility of the soil. Then the parent soil, that is the rock from which the particular soil is formed. So almost 60-70% of the chemical properties of that rock are getting converted into the chemical properties of that particular soil. And the next factor is the water which is present inside the soil, that is inside the ground. All these factors, along with, say, we can say exploitable depth, that means which crop we are going to plant there. Say if we are getting if you are planning to have vegetable crops, then your exploitable depth will be 1 to 2 feet. If we are planning to have grain crops, then your exploitable depth will be around 6 inches. And if you are planning long term fruit crops like pomegranate or mangoes, your exploitable depth will be of more than 5 feet or 6 feet. So all these things come together, we can say, make your soil fertile. All these things needs to be balanced with each other to make our soil more fertile. Now, having a fertile soil does not always give you the better, we can say, profit or income from the soil, because it requires better management of this fertility. So basic fertility, as we can see from this slide, is important as far as the crop growth is concerned. But at the same time, you have to have better management of this fertility to make this soil more productive. The fertility and productivity is defined by the management. Then what exactly is this management is how you fertilize, what fertilizers you are going to use, how much fertilizer we are going to use is important factors of one of the important factors of the management. Then irrigation, when to irrigate, how to irrigate, how much water to be used for the irrigation. Then date of planting, when to plant. Then the atmospheric factors, which are not directly related with the soil, but they affect the plant growth. The atmospheric factors are, first thing, the atmospheric temperature, the light, and the moisture or humidity in the atmosphere. Then how you manage the fertility, that is the choice of the crop, which crop you want to take on that soil, whether that crop is suitable to the chemical and physical properties of that soil or not, or whether that plant is suitable to the agroclimatic conditions of that particular area. Then crop rotation, one crop should not be taken on the same piece of land again and again. You have to rotate that crop with some other crop, say leguminous crops or something else, to maintain the balance of nutrients in the soil. Then soil cover, that is, we can say, mulching, to retain the moisture and nutrients inside the soil, or to reduce the growth of the weeds. Then availability of living roots, because the living root provide the colonies of microorganisms with the required nutrition, we can say. And the soil disturbance, that is plowing and harrowing. These are the factors which are a part of management. And once this management is coupled with the basic fertility of the soil, we can say that we have a group crop yield, or we have a group income from the that particular soil. So now, as we discussed in our first slide, the use of organic manures is much reduced since last 40 50 years. So we need to have the organic matter return process. So whatever we take from that particular soil in the form of the crop, around 30 to 35% needs to be returned. So in the form of, we can say, the stubbles, or we can say the husk, we need to reincorporate in the soil to improve the soil fertility. And in all these things will put together, it will give you the better yield of the crop. Now, once we go ahead in the nutrient management of the particular soil, to have the balanced nutrient management and to have the balanced soil fertility, integrated nutrient management is the key. So what is integrated nutrient management? It is managing the nutrients or managing the fertilizers using more than one methods. Now, which are these methods? The first and foremost important method is the soil nutrient analysis or soil testing. Once we test the soil, we can say that we come to know what exactly is the status of nutrients in the soil, and what exactly needs to be added. The second aspect is intercropping. taking more than one crops together in the soil, so that they maintain the balance of the soil. And we can say they will give you a protection from the yield reduction and or the rate fluctuation, that they will complement each other and they will balance the uh, intercropping. Third thing is the use of biofertilizers, that is use of bacterial cultures, various types of bacterial cultures, that is rhizobium, azotobacter, phosphate solubilizing bacteria, potash mobilizing bacteria. Use of these biofertilizers is essential to make the non-available nutrients into the available form. That will also reduce the dependency on chemical fertilizer. The next aspect is micro dosing. With the invention of drip system, the micro dosing is now possible. Earlier, we used to apply all the required fertilizer dose at the time of sowing or at the time of planting, and there is a huge loss of nutrients from these fertilizers due to, we can say, leaching, due to evaporation of these nutrients. Then with the invention of the drip system or micro irrigation, now we can use micro dosing, that is the required nutrients are can be supplied in split doses to avoid their leaching or their loss in the environment or their loss in the water. The next aspect is crop rotations. As we discussed in the earlier slide also, the same crop should not be taken on that particular soil again and again. So we need to rotate that crop with some other crop to maintain the balance of the nutritional status of the soil. And the last aspect in this is the balanced nutrients. Now what exactly is balanced nutrient is whatever is required in the required quantity that has to be supplied. The nutrients which are required in micro form are to be supplied in lesser quantities. The nutrients which are required in the major form are needs to be supplied in the bigger quantities. That is, we can say, balanced nutrition. And at the center of the slide you can see that we have tried to show where is the darkest green color, where the micronutrients, NPK and organic fertilizer are used together. You will see the darkest thing, that is highest yield. Wherever the nutrients only NPK is used, or only organic fertilizer used, or only nitrogen is used, you will see there is not much yield thing in the, we can say, expected from that particular crop. So we have to have the balance of all these nutrients, so you will get the expected results. Okay, now we'll move on to one depiction of a curve, that is the requirement of the nutrient uh, or fertilizer requirement as per the with comparison with the crop yield or the yield of the crop. The scientist Mitscherlich has given this curve, so you can see on the on the one x-axis the amount of fertilizer applied. On the y-axis you will see the percentage of yield or disease resistance. When the fertilizer applied is very less, your crop will be in the zone A, that is deficiency zone. When we gradually increase the amount of fertilizer, your crop will go in the zone B, that is hidden hunger. Hidden hunger means the crop is facing the deficiency, but it is not able to show the deficiency, that is called as hidden hunger. Once we increase the fertilizer, then the crop growth will go in the green zone, that is optimum growth or optimum yield. And once we pass that particular green zone or quantity of fertilizer, then the applied fertilizer will work as a poison or toxin to the growing plant instead of working as a fertilizer. In other words, if you apply 2 bags of urea, you will get 10 tons of wheat, 10 quintals of wheat. If you apply 4 bags of urea, you will not get 20 tons. So there is a limit of application of fertilizers, and you have to maintain or you have to follow that limit to get the optimum yield or optimum income from that particular crop. So this has to be kept in the mind while applying or while planning the fertilizer doses. So the best method to decide how much to be applied, what exactly to be applied, is soil analysis. Now, the soil and awareness of soil analysis is needs to be spread among the farming community. The reason behind soil analysis is, once you use this method, your decision on using the fertilizer or your decision on balanced use of fertilizer will be more fruitful. So why this soil analysis is important? It is to establish the current nutrient status of the soil, to make you enable the future planning of your fertilizer strategy. Second thing, it helps you to indicate what exactly needs to be used to correct the soil's properties. That means there is a trend of using lime or using gypsum to correct the soil chemical properties. So when to use gypsum or when to use lime is depend on the soil analysis. The third thing is what exactly is limiting the crop production as far as the soil nutrient status is concerned. That can be adjusted from the soil analysis. The next thing is what exactly is required to improve the farm profitability and to maintain the fertility or the managing the fertility of the soil. Then the soil analysis also helps in preparing the nutrition plan for the future crop. It also helps in the monitoring the whatever we are say implementing the strategies, whether the strategies are working or not. We can again check those with the help of soil analysis. Then it also helps in to use what exactly what form needs to be used for the application, and it will indirectly give you the better farm management. So all these factors are very important as far as the soil analysis is concerned. When you go for the soil analysis, the factors which are mentioned on the slides are tested in the laboratory. There are three major categories of analysis: physical, chemical, and biological. In physical factors, the soil texture, that is the proportion of sand, silt, and clay with each other in the soil, is tested. Then water holding capacity, that is how much water that soil can hold. Then porosity, that is amount of air or amount of open space in the soil, that is one of the factors in soil health. And the drainage capacity, these are physical factors which are checked in the soil. Then in chemical factor, the important thing is soil pH, that is checked, that is the whether the soil is having alkaline or acidic pH. Then electrical conductivity. Electrical conductivity is directly proportional to the salt content of the soil. If the soil salts or soil is more alkaline, you will see the more electrical conductivity. Then, as we discussed earlier, organic carbon or organic matter, that is the soul of the soil, that can be checked in the chemical factors. Then calcium carbonate content, which is a limiting factor in nutrient uptake. So if there is a calcium carbonate content of up to 5% in the soil, we can say that you have a balanced soil. If this content goes beyond 5%, the availability of some or other nutrient gets affected. Then we check the major nutrients, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash in the soil. The secondary nutrients, that is calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. And the micronutrients, that is boron, zinc, ferrous, etc., etc. And the next factor which is checked in the chemical parameters is exchangeable sodium percentage. Sodium is one of the micronutrients, but if that quantity of sodium is increased by, we can say, 1 or 2 ppm, it hampers the growth of the plant. So we need to check the sodium percentage of the soil to make us enable planning the amelioration. That is, if the sodium percentage, exchangeable sodium percentage, is more, we can apply or you can treat the soil with gypsum to remove this sodium from the soil. and to make the soil sodium free. Then the biological factors, there are two different things which are checked in the biological factors. Generally, the biological things are not checked in the soil testing. It is recommended if you have some specific problem. So there are two things which are checked in the biological. One is the microbial activity, that is the activity and the population of beneficial microbes in the soil, and second, the pathogen or disease causing microorganisms, their activity or their population in the soil. All these factors are responsible for the better soil health. If you have a soil health report or soil analysis report in front of you, you can see better management of your soil fertility. Generally, if you are growing only rain-fed crops, that is one crop in a year, you need to have a soil analysis once in 2 or 3 years. If you are growing two crops in a year, you can have soil analysis in once in 1 or 2 year. But if you are planning to have round the year cultivation of different crops in the soil, it is recommended to have soil analyzed every year. Secondly, if you have some specific issues in your soil health, or if you are planning to have some remedies, you need to check your soil again and again to check whether those remedies or those methods are working or not. Okay. Then once we test the soil and once we come to know the nutrient level of various nutrients in the soil, we can use this mathematical equation to calculate the amount of fertilizer required for that particular crop. For example, we can say if the nitrogen content of the soil is say point say 140 kilogram. So the we can say that it is low nitrogen. If the nitrogen is low, then you need to use 50%. Sorry, if the nitrogen is very low, if it is one less than 140 kilogram per hectare, then you need to use 50% more than the recommended dose for that particular crop, and so on. So there is a range of every nutrient, the standard range of every nutrient in the soil. You can see from this table that moderate range is of organic carbon is 0.4 to 0.6%. The moderate range for available nitrogen is 281 to 420 kilograms per hectare. For phosphorus, it is 15 to 21 kilogram per hectare, and for potash, it is 151 to 200 kilogram per hectare. Anything above than that, we can say that the nutrient level is high. Anything lesser than that, the nutrient level is low. So you can have this mathematical equation with you to increase or to adjust the fertilizer dose required for that particular crop. So you need to use this equation along with the standard recommended dose for that particular crop to arrive at the fertilizer quantity, and then you need to apply that particular fertilizer quantity to the soil to get its optimum results, as well as to maintain the fertility of the soil, because the whatever is applied in the soil plus whatever is available in the soil is absorbed by the plant, and we can say the stock will be exhausted. So we need to not only provide the growing crop with the required nutrients, we also need to provide that soil so that the balance of nutrients in the soil will also be maintained with the help of the fertilizer application. Then the next picture will tell you about the application of nutrients. Now this is Liebig's law of minimum, it is called as. It is the picture will explain what exactly the Liebig law is. You can see a drum made up of various wooden strips. Okay, the names of the nutrients are printed on those strips, and the water, the liquid inside that drum is your crop's yield. So if you see this picture carefully, there is a leakage of yield from one particular point, and that particular point is of nitrogen. That means the nitrogen is deficient in that particular soil, and that nitrogen is deciding the yield of your crop. So if that nitrogen cannot be supplied, so if you say your soil is deficient in nitrogen, and instead of nitrogen we apply ferrous in that soil. So if you apply ferrous in that soil, so it will not make any difference. So if the quantity of ferrous is more, the yield will still leak from that nitrogen point. So to cover the deficiency of nitrogen, you have to use nitrogen. In other words, the deficiency of one particular nutrient can be corrected by that particular nutrient only. No other nutrient can replace a nutrient. So once we supply that soil with nitrogen, then you can say the nitrogen deficiency is restored. Then in the particular picture, you can see the phosphorus deficiency may be there. So you need to clear the phosphorus deficiency. So with the help of soil analysis, you can see what exactly is deficient in the soil, and accordingly you can apply that particular fertilizer in the required quantity, and recover that soil from the deficiency, and you will get the optimum yield. The same thing is explained in this picture. In the left side you can see there is a deficiency of iron, and the drum is not full, or we can say drum is 75% full. So if you supply the soil with the iron, your drum will get full. We can say you will get the optimum yield. So the limiting factor of the growth is the nutrient which is in shortest supply. So you need to clear, or you need to cover the deficiency of that particular nutrient. So here we come to the end of the discussion today. Hope the points which we have discussed in the particular presentations are helpful for the farmers or for the listeners of this session. And I'm thankful to Agriculture Information for providing me the opportunity to interact or to present my topic in front of the farming community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anant, for the detailed presentation. Now I'll take up some questions. So the first question is, what does Anant Varsha Foundation in Nashik, Maharashtra do?
Okay. Anant Varsha Foundation is a social organization formed in 2019, and it is dedicated to the agriculture and rural development. One of the aspects which cover through our organization is action for soil health management, wherein we create awareness of soil health management among the farming community with the help of students of agriculture colleges. And we try to we can say we try to know the issues faced by the farmers with respect to the soil health, and we try to provide them with the better and cost effective solutions to improve their soil health.
Okay. Mr. Anant, can you stop sharing the screen, and if possible, you can on your video?
Yeah, just a second. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, we can see you. Thank you. And next question is, do you provide consultancy services?
Yeah, we do provide consultancy services in organic farming and in correction of the difficult types of soil. We also provide consultancy in use of biofertilizers or organic manures.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question is, please tell us about yourself and what made you to take an interest in this subject, in this
Okay.
topic.
Okay, myself, I'm Anant Bansode. I'm postgraduate in horticulture. So, and I'm having more than 15, 20 years of experience in agriculture field. Earlier, I was associated with agriculture finance sector, and then from 2011, I'm engaged in in consultancy services. So whatever I observed during my we can say agriculture education days, and since I belong to a farming family, from I'm basically a farmer. My family runs a farm in Maharashtra. So what we saw, or what I observed, is the issues faced by the farmers with respect to the plant protection and plant nutrition, and these issues needs to be resolved or needs to be addressed with the help of the measures which should be not only cost effective, but they should work practically in the field with the invention of various types of chemicals and various types of, we can say, pesticides. The cost of production is going up day by day, and there is a need of reducing the cost of production. So once in one hand we say we need to double the farming income, so doubling the farming income is also associated with reduction in the cultivation cost of the crops. So I try to use my knowledge and my experience to reduce, to help the farmer reduce the cost of cultivation. For that, we I did some research on biofertilizers. We have invented some we can say solutions, bacterial cultures for the farmers, and we are trying to provide those solutions to the farmers at much lesser cost than the market cost, and we are trying to reduce their dependency on chemical fertilizers and pesticides.
Okay. Now we have the last question. What are some main points farmers can learn from your talk today?
Okay, the first and foremost point, what I want to, well, I want the farmers to know is know your soil better. If you know your own soil, you will be in a better position to plan your cropping system. So, what generally is observed in the agriculture in India is the decision of what exactly needs to be applied and how much quantity needs to be applied is left on the and on the fertilizer shop owner. Farmer goes there, he just tells him that I want something for my onion, and I want to plant 1 acre of onion, or I want to plant 1 acre of wheat. The shopkeeper or the dealer provides him with the XYZ quantity of fertilizer. So it may not be suitable for all the farmers, as the soil health status of every farmer will be different, or soil health status of one particular farmer having 4 5 different types of land pieces will be different. So the farmer needs to know the nutrient status of his soil. He needs to know that soil well, so that he can plan his fertilizer schedule, he can plan his crop, or he can plan his yield well better in advance. It will also help him to budget his uh, cost of cultivation. Every farmer, when decide to grow a particular crop in a soil, comes with a rough financial plan is in mind. If he knows his soil better, then his decision of nutrient supply or fertilizer purchase will be better if he has knowledge of his soil fertility. The second point I want to emphasize here is on having the soil analysis done every year. The third point I want to uh, suggest to the farmer is use as much possible as organic manures in various forms. That is organic manure, that is farmyard manure, poultry manure, various types of cakes. Then the we can say crop residues incorporated in the soil using different types of biofertilizers, decomposing cultures, that will definitely increase the fertility of soil at much lesser cost, because you need not to go to a shop and to buy the fertilizer if you manage these crop residues well for the betterment of your soil. So I feel these points are important as far as the my topic is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anant, for the detailed presentation and answering all the questions. And now we have come to end of question round. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we like to thank you for the detailed presentation. And we also like to thank all the participants for joining this meeting. The meeting will now be closed.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.